All right, so everything you need to know about the Crusades in 5 minutes. So, Christians have some weird guilt about the Crusades, so historians don't, so I'm going to help you. All right, so the Crusades were a series of battles between Christian Europe and various groups. Some of them were heretics who lived in Europe, but mostly we're talking about battles against Muslims in the Middle East. Now, why were Christians fighting Muslims? This is a question that the History Channel gets really wrong. They started it, really. Islam started in the 600s, and within 100 years, they had conquered all of the Middle East, all of North Africa, and a whole lot of Southern Europe. They viewed the world as two separate spheres. There's the world of Islam, and everything else is the world of war, and they desired to conquer it and convert them to Islam. So if you look at this map, you can see how large the Islamic world was within 100 years after its founding by the Prophet Muhammad. They had conquered Christian territories throughout North Africa. They had conquered Palestine, they'd conquered the Middle East, and they had conquered all of Spain, and they were making incursions into the rest of Christian territory. So if you look here, I've got two maps to compare. The Islamic world was much larger than the Christian world as of the 750s. They were coming into a place where the Christians were looking around and saying, we're all going to die because they're going to conquer all of us, and all of our peasants are going to convert to Islam, and it's all going to be over. Spain fell in the 710s. The Battle of Tours in 725 was between the Muslims and the Kingdom of France. And France only barely survived being conquered because of this guy, Charles the Hammer Martel. They had invaded Italy and taken over Rome. So when the Byzantine emperor asked the Pope of Rome to help fight against the Muslims, he was really happy to do that, Pope Urban II. And so that is the foundation of the First Crusade, was an attempt to show mercy towards suffering Christians in Muslim territories and to liberate Jerusalem as a site of pilgrimage. Mainly, they're trying to take back what just got taken from them. And so this is a reciprocal war. Things that were not goals of the Crusades. They did not want to conquer the Muslim world, and they really did not want to convert Muslims. They thought that they were unconvertible. The idea of taking people and having them commit their lives to Jesus really wasn't a thing back then. You were what you were born and what your parents were. So they were trying to take back their territory. The Crusaders involved a whole lot of kings and a whole lot of wealthy landowners. They were all paying for private armies that they brought along with them, and their foot soldiers were people who were being paid by those landowners. They went on crusade because they thought it would help them be saved. Remember, nobody reads the Bible. Very few people have the ability to read. And they were performing it as an act of penance. It was penitence and sacrifice to give up your comfy life and go fight. Pope Gregory, just previous to this, had established papal supremacy. So when the Pope says, lay down your life for other Christians who are suffering in the Holy Land or wherever, they said, yes, that seems like a great idea. That's going to get us to heaven. Nobody made any money on the Crusades. In fact, it ruined a lot of important families. If you've seen Robin Hood, you know the king goes off and Prince John tries to take his power. That happened all over the place during the Crusades. You would die. Frederick Barbarossa of Germany drowns on the crusade. So what'd they get? The First Crusade was slightly successful. They established the Crusader states. This was the most they ever got. So they had kingdoms in Jerusalem, kingdoms in Edessa and Antioch. There were some atrocities committed during the Crusades, but no more than any other battle. Warfare in the Middle Ages was stupidly, they just killed everybody. If you saw somebody, you killed them. That was what you did. Everybody sacked cities, both sides did it. The First Crusade sacking of Jerusalem may have been unusually bad, but we don't know because the conflicting accounts from both sides. There are Christians with conflicting accounts and Muslims with conflicting accounts, and so it's impossible to know how many people died. Other crusades were way less successful. In 1187, Jerusalem is recaptured by Saladin. The Fourth Crusade doesn't even get to Jerusalem. Instead, they sack Constantinople, their previous friends, because they weren't paying their debts. The Ottoman Empire becomes more and more powerful. Crusades decline more and more. In 1529, Suleiman the Magnificent is so powerful that he is actually sieging Vienna in Europe. So that's how much more they had grown back after that time. That's only 100 years before Jamestown was established. So, takeaways. The Crusades were reactionary. They were not just an unprovoked attack by Christians. They were no more vicious than any other warfare of the era, and the Crusaders believed they were providing mercy and justice to oppressed Christians, which may or may not have been true.